Have you ever pondered on the significance of placing God at the forefront of your life? It's a question that echoes in the chambers of our hearts, often left unanswered. Today, we delve into the depths of this query, shedding light on the profound impact it can have on our existence. We all have priorities. They guide our decisions, shape our lives, and determine our happiness. But what happens when we reposition these priorities, when we place God not just as a part of our life, but as the essence of it? Imagine living a life where every decision, every action, every thought is influenced by a divine presence. A life where your purpose is not defined by societal norms or personal ambitions, but by the divine will. A life where peace, love, and fulfillment are not mere aspirations but daily realities. So what happens when we place God as our top priority? Let's dive into a compelling story to illustrate this. Imagine a man named John, who lived a life just like any of us. John was an everyday man, living in a bustling city, working a 9-to-5 job and trying to navigate the complexities of life. He had his fair share of joys and sorrows, triumphs and defeats, but there was one thing that was missing from John's life, the one thing that he didn't realize he needed until he hit rock bottom: God. John was not a bad man by any means. He was kind, respectful, and always willing to lend a helping hand. But life had a way of throwing curveballs at him. He experienced heartbreaks, lost job opportunities, and fell into a spiral of depression. His life seemed like a never-ending cycle of disappointments. One day, John found himself sitting alone in his apartment, consumed by a profound sense of emptiness. He had reached a breaking point, and he didn't know how to bounce back. He felt like he was drowning in a sea of despair, with no rescue in sight. It was during this darkest hour that a thought occurred to him. He wondered, what if I tried to put God first in my life? He had heard stories of people who had found solace and strength in their faith, and he wondered if he could find the same. So John decided to take a leap of faith. He started attending a local church, reading spiritual texts and spending quiet moments in prayer. He felt awkward at first, like a fish out of water, but he persisted. He was desperate for a change, and he was willing to try anything. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, John began to notice a transformation in his life. His depression started to lift, and he found a new sense of purpose. He was more at peace with himself, and he started to see the world in a different light. His struggles didn't disappear overnight, but they became more manageable. John realized that by putting God first, he was not just seeking help from a higher power. He was learning to surrender his worries, his fears, and his doubts. He was learning to trust in a plan greater than his own. He was learning to find joy in the simple things, to appreciate the beauty of everyday life, and to find strength in his faith. John's life was not perfect, but it was better. He still had his ups and downs, but he was no longer alone. He had God by his side, guiding him through the storms of life. He found comfort in his faith, hope in his prayers, and strength in his belief. John's story is not unique. There are countless others who have experienced similar transformations when they decided to put God first in their lives. They found a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, and a sense of peace that they had never experienced before. They learned to see the world through a lens of faith, hope, and love. John's life took a positive turn when he made God his priority, but what does it really mean to prioritize God in our lives? Putting God first isn't merely about praying or attending religious activities. It's an approach to life that goes beyond the superficiality of rituals and touches the very core of our existence. Imagine life as a grand orchestra, where every instrument plays its part in creating a harmonious symphony. When we put God first, we're entrusting Him to be the conductor of this orchestra. We're surrendering our will to His, allowing Him to guide us through the ebb and flow of life's melody. This surrender isn't about losing control, but rather about gaining a sense of direction. It's about acknowledging that we're not the sole authors of our story, but rather, we're part of a larger narrative, one that's been unfolding since the dawn of time, under the watchful eyes of the divine. Putting God first also means seeking His guidance in all decisions, big or small. Sometimes we find ourselves at crossroads, unsure of which path to take. In such moments, prioritizing God allows us to pause, reflect, and ask, what would align more with God's teachings? What would bring me closer to His essence? This isn't about seeking a miraculous sign or a divine whisper. It's about introspection, about aligning our actions with the values and principles that God endorses. It's about making choices that reflect love, kindness, humility, and selflessness, values that are universally celebrated across all faiths and cultures. Finally, putting God first means living a life that exemplifies His teachings. It's about being a beacon of hope in a world that often seems shrouded in darkness. It's about extending a hand of friendship to those who are different from us, about showing compassion to those who are less fortunate, and about treating every living creature with respect and dignity. In essence, prioritizing God is not about elevating ourselves above others but about lifting others up. It's not about gaining power, but about empowering others. It's not about seeking validation, but about validating the existence and worth of every soul we encounter. Prioritizing God means submitting to His will and seeking His wisdom in all aspects of life. Now let's explore the benefits that come with making God our priority. When we put God first, the first benefit we experience is inner peace. This peace isn't a fleeting momentary feeling but a deeply rooted tranquility that surpasses all understanding. It doesn't mean the absence of troubles, but it means an assurance that despite these trials, we have a steadfast refuge in God. It's like being in the eye of the storm, where everything is calm and quiet, even though the winds are howling outside. Another benefit of putting God first is guidance in decision-making. Life is a series of choices. Some are simple, others are complex, and some can change the course of our lives forever. When God is our priority, we have access to divine wisdom that guides us in making these decisions. This guidance doesn't mean we'll never make wrong choices, but it ensures that even when we falter, there's a bigger plan at work, steering us back on track. Then there's strength during trials. Life can be tough, and sometimes it feels like we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. But when we put God first, we tap into an inexhaustible source of strength. It's like having a wellspring of courage that never runs dry, no matter how arduous the journey gets. This strength isn't just about enduring hardships, it's about thriving amidst them, knowing that our trials are shaping us into better versions of ourselves. Lastly, putting God first promises eternal rewards. These aren't just material or earthly rewards, but blessings that transcend time and space. These rewards include a deep sense of purpose, true happiness, and the promise of eternal life. They are gifts that no amount of money can buy, and no power on earth can take away. As we can see, the benefits of prioritizing God are immense and life-changing. In conclusion, putting God first is a transformational decision. It is not merely a religious act, but a life-changing commitment that brings about untold blessings. Throughout our discussion, we have seen the story of John, a testament to the power of making God a priority. His life, once filled with uncertainty, found purpose and direction when he chose to put God first. Moreover, we delved into what it really means to prioritize God in our lives. It's not about ticking off a checklist, it's about nurturing a relationship with our Creator, letting His will guide our decisions, our actions, and our lives. We've also explored the benefits that come with this commitment: peace, contentment, clarity. These are just some of the gifts we receive when we align our lives with God's will. It's a journey that's worth every step. Remember, when we put God first, everything else falls into place. Thank you for joining us today. Stay blessed and keep seeking God in all you do.